there's Avelis that we have in these 3 weeks, and there's Avelis that we have when someone loses one of his 7 types of relatives. The Avelis that we have by the relatives goes in the total opposite direction compared to the Avelis that happens by the 3 weeks. When someone's an Avel by Nochum, he's an Avel on a relative. So day 1, there's Aninus, the strict halachas. Then there's Shiva. Even in Shiva there may be different levels. And then after Shiva there's Shloshim, there's 30 days. And then for a parent you have the rest of the year, you have Avelis. Each step gets less and less. There's more things that are permitted. There's less restrictions as you go on. When it comes to the 3 weeks, we find that it's the opposite. We find that first we have an Avelis of Bein HaMetzarim, of starting from Shivasa B'Tammuz, a light Avelis. Then we have the Avelis of the 9 days for Ashkenazim, or Shvur Shechalboi for everybody. And then we have the actual Tisha B'Av itself. The Avelis gets worse and worse. It gets more strict, not worse, but more strict as you get closer to Tisha, as you get closer to it, or as it moves on. What's the pshat? Why does one get more strict and one gets more lenient? And the simple answer is that these 2 Avelis are totally opposite. One of them is a person has lost a close one. He is naturally going to feel this tremendous pain and suffering. He's going to feel it. What we need to do is we need to bring him out of his shell. The natural thing is a person gets locked into it, and we'll allow him that for a small period. And slowly but surely we pull him out of this Avelis. The Shiva, the Shloshim, the Toich Shana for Avivimai. When it comes to Avelis of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, it's unfortunate, but it's true that we don't really feel it. And the purpose of the Anhagas of Avelis is to bring the Avelis into us. To first start off slowly, then build up, make it even more severe, until we get to Tisha B'Av itself, where it's the most severe. The purpose of Tisha B'Av is to make us feel the Avelis, to bring it on, not to get around it, but to bring it on. A story is said over that Napoleon came into a city, and whether the story is true or not is really not relevant. But since it is brought down in Svarim that bring it down, it seems that the lesson is something that our Chachamim hold up. But the story goes that Napoleon went into a city, and he went to the shul, and he saw that the Jews were all crying shortly after he had conquered the city. He was furious. How could it be that they're so upset that they're even crying? They're sitting on the floor, and they're all sad about the fact that I came and redeemed them and free them. And they explained to him, no, it's nothing to do with you. It's because today is Tisha B'Av, and this day of Tisha B'Av we cry. He said, so what do you cry about on Tisha B'Av? What's this all about? And they explained to him that there was a Beis HaMikdash. At that time, it was 1700 years before that was destroyed, and they cry each year on the day that it was destroyed. So Napoleon said, if you're crying 1700 years after the Churban of a building, after the Churban of the Beis HaMikdash, there's no question that it's going to be coming back. Whether the story is true or not is irrelevant. But our Chazal and the Chachamim understand that there's a lesson over here, that there's an importance. Bringing the fact that we are crying has relevance, has some type of connection to the Beis HaMikdash coming back. And the emes is, it's a Shalah HaKadosh. Shalah HaKadosh, Mesechtes Tainis and Mitzvah, says that we know that on Shabbos, there's no Avelis on Shabbos. On Shabbos, we're not allowed to show outward signs of Avelis. Things that are not outward signs, so maybe some we do, some we don't. But as far as the halachas of Avelis, b'fahesi, we don't do on Shabbos when it comes to 9 days of Shabbos Chazayin. What's the reason for this? So the Shalah HaKadosh says that be'emes, when someone cries about the Churban Beis HaMikdash, he is showing that he is connected to the Beis HaMikdash. There is a Beis HaMikdash that is waiting to come and be put down, as Chazal tell us, in the Nochum HaMikdash, where it is right now. There is an existing Mikdash, Shamayim, or wherever it may be, there's an existing Mikdash. And when we cry, we're making a connection. We're connecting, we're building ropes, and we're building a connection to be able to bring that Beis HaMikdash back. When someone goes and he cries about the Beis HaMikdash, he is connecting to it. And that itself is like a binyan. He's building a connection. And the Shalach HaKadosh says, that's why you're not allowed to do Avelos on Shabbos. Because ein binyan Beis HaMikdash toich Shabbos. You're not allowed to build on Shabbos. And even for the binyan of the Beis HaMikdash, you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. And that's why we don't do the Avelos on Shabbos. So there's a connection, there's a strong connection. And the stronger you make it, the stronger you do the Avelos, the more you do the Avelos, the more you feel the Avelos, the more connected you are to the Beis HaMikdash and to the Eibishter, the more you feel connected, there's more simcha. And that's why on Tisha B'Av itself, there's really a mixture of two things. There's Avelos, and at the same time it's called a Moyed, it's called a Yantif. So for certain things, there's Avelos. But the fact that we have the Avelos itself and makes us connected to the Eibishter and to the Beis HaMikdash, that itself is a feeling of connection that we have, gives us that extra Nochum, gives us that Nochum. So what Napoleon did or didn't say was that if you're crying 1700 years, that means you're still connected to this Beis HaMikdash. Wherever it may exist, you're still connected. And if you're connected and you're crying, it's going to pull it and it's going to bring it down. Rav Nosson Wachtfogel, Mashkiach Zchon Levracha, asked, it says, Chazal tell us, Kol ha'mesavel al Yerushalayim zoiche v'roye b'simchasa. Anyone who's mesavel, anyone who acts with Avelos on Yerushalayim, he's zoiche, he merits to see, and he sees the simcha. But Rav Nosson asked, the lashon is problematic. It shouldn't be zoiche v'roye in present term. He sees now. It should be zoiche v'yire b'simchasa. Zoiche that he will see. Rav Nosson answers, I'll pay this Shalach HaKadosh. He says the Shalach HaKadosh is telling us that when a person is mesavel on Yerushalayim, a person feels connected. And when a person feels connected, there's an achama, there's a comforting that a person has. I am now connected to the Beis HaMikdash. I'm now more connected to the Eibishter. So the more a person is mesavel, the more he'll actually feel this nachama. And the more he'll feel this nachama, the more he'll be b'simcha right now. It's not zoiche v'yira b'simchasai. It's zoiche v'roye b'simchasai. Zoiche that he sees it at the time that he's being misabel. He has this mixed feeling. I'm ba'avelos, but the avelos itself is a nachama, is a connect to the Beis HaMikdash and to the Eibishter. So if that's the case, then it's very appropriate for a person to do what Chazal told us and build up the feelings of avelos. Build up the feelings of what we're missing. Build up the feelings of the fact that the Eibishter is the knowledge about the Eibishter and the credit that the Eibishter really deserves for everything that goes on in this world is not recognized. And realize that and feel bad. It shouldn't be worse than if a person has a relative that falls into a muddy puddle and everyone starts laughing. You yourself, if it's someone you respect, it's someone that you're going to feel bad about. The Eibishter is right now, kaviyachol, rolling in the mud of this world, not getting the credit, amongst other things, that of course he deserves. And when people don't recognize that, we should feel bad about that. And we should also work on it to be machnes, to bring in the avelos into ourselves, like Chazal instituted. Maybe, as an eitzah, something to do for the whole year, not just for today. Maybe it's kedai to say korbanos. Korban tamid, it's halach and shulchan aruch. A person should say a korban parsha of tamid every single day. It's korban ilachmi, lishai reich nichochi. That pasuk, those few psukim, 8 psukim, or the amount of psukim, maybe with v'shachat oisei, it's another pasuk or 2. Every day, shachris, mincha, if you can't do both, at least do one. Connect somehow to korbanos. Connect to the Beis HaMikdash. Get a feeling and a yearning and something that you need to work on, as Chazal taught us, to build up the feeling that we're missing something, and then we'll be able to be Zoicha, to be Roya ben Achamas Yerushalayim b'Meher b'Yameinu.
The question is, what are we really mourning for the Churban? What's the root of the cause? I mean, if you think about it, the Gemara says that the Churban really was, in a way, a very good thing, because it showed the Rachmanis of the Rabbi Shalom, that Hashem poured out His wrath and fury on Eitzim Avanim, and He let the Yiddish children, the Jewish children, live, which is very different than a lot of our genocides that we had to go through. It's the Holocaust, it's the pogroms, tat v'tat. It didn't fare so well. So in a certain way, the Churban was, we should be rejoicing. We should be thankful that the Rachamim of Hashem, we were angry and we deserved a lot more. So I heard a beautiful thought from Rabbi Berkowitz at Eretz Yisrael. I want to share with you, because it's amistic. Really the root of the Churban was really from the Meraglim. The Meraglim was, what was the Meraglim? The Meraglim really didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael. How'd they do that? How'd they talk smack about Eretz Yisrael when it was just, they just came out from Mitzrayim, they saw the Nisim, they saw everything. So he says the root cause, really, and you see this a lot, when somebody doesn't want to do something, he's going to try to tell you everything about how it's not a good idea. He doesn't want to do plan A, B, or C. He'll try to convince you why it's the worst idea. It's never going to work. It's not going to be successful. But really, in reality, the person doesn't want to do it. The Meraglim were the same. They subconsciously, they probably didn't even know themselves they were doing it. But they didn't want to that life of Eretz Yisrael. They weren't ready for it. They were scared of it. They were living in a land of where everything comes to them, and they were scared to come. Who wants to go into a land and live like robots? I mean, who wants to go to some place where you're going to have to think before you speak? I mean, that's not natural. It's not a natural living. Who wants to be able to have to work very hard and then start doing Meiser, and then start tithing it and taking Meiser and Trumas and Trumas and Meisers and Meiserishin and Shlishi? It's like, wait, why should I do that? I worked so hard for it. Who wants to actually have to bring a carbon when they make a mistake? Carbon is expensive. It's $1,000 ox. It's not normal. People make mistakes, and that's subconsciously why they didn't want to go, and they thought they had their excuse why it's just not going to work. And it's the same exact thread followed in the Churban bias. Churban bias was when people just wanted to live. They did Avodah Zarah. They did, what is the essence of Avodah Zarah? The Baal Par. Essence of Avodah Zarah is that everything goes. That's why you go to the bathroom on the Avodah Zarah. It's fine. Everything is fine. Does it sound familiar to this generation? Well, because I'll say that we are in the Baal Par. We correspond to that Avodah Zarah. We might not do Avodah Zarah, but by just chilling, that's sort of the Avodah Zarah of our times. And the problem was we are mourning the choices that we made, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu says as follows. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, if you want the yoke of Torah, I'm going to throw away the yoke of shibud, of the malchus, of oppression, and even the yoke of Parnasa. I'm going to help you out. I'll make everything work. Just choose the yoke of Torah. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard sometimes when we don't feel like it to open up that sefer and start learning. It's not easy. It's a yoke. It's a burden. Sometimes it's not natural. And it's not easy to actually think before we speak. It's not easy to be cognitive of our mistakes that we made. I mean, it's hard enough to do our things that were not mistakes, but to actually try to think about it, it's not easy. But that's the choice that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. And the other side of the coin, if we don't do that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Avram Avinu that he's not going to let us falter. Avram was worried, how am I going to know that the Jews will be there when it comes time for the third Beis HaMikdash? They're going to assimilate. There's no way. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'll give you a promise. I'm going to press them. I'm going to bring them into Mitzrayim. I am going to give them challenges that makes them go back. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately because Hashem wouldn't do it if it wouldn't work. Oppression works very well by us Jews. When we're oppressed, we flourish. Look what happened after every single genocide, every single tzara that we had. We come back. We realize. We come back to Hashem. We run back to the arms of the one that made the oppression, and we come back crying. And we're saying we're home. We want to be together with you. The yeshivas flourish. The Jewish lives flourish. We really come closer to the Bodner because of oppression. So in essence, we're mourning. We're mourning the same thing that we mourned by the Meraglim. We're mourning the choices that we made. What choice? Which oppression do we want? Do we want the challenge of Torah, the challenge of Yiddishkeit? Do we want to be Dovid by Hashem, or do we want to live free, chill, relax? Of course, we could chill. Obviously, this is the summer; it's the time to chill. But it's chilling for Torah, so that we could be able to learn, we'll be able to do the avodah. That's the choice we have to make. So when we're sitting on the floor and we're lamenting, we should think about their choices and think about our choices. And hopefully, our choices should be the right one. And we should be Zaycha to the Beis HaMikdash, Meyer B'Yameinu, where there could be Od, Zkenim, Zkenois, Yerushalayim, singing and dancing, and living the life that was really meant to be.
People want to know, what can we do to feel the Churban Beis HaMikdash, to make it more real to us, the whole thing of the Beis HaMikdash. How is that connected to me? So first of all, every day we daven in middle of Shemona Esrei, Yerushalayim Ircha, V'achem Tashuv, we ask for the Beis HaMikdash, we ask for Mashiach, and then after we finish, even in Shabbos, we say Yehi Ratzon She'ibana Beis HaMikdash B'Meira B'Yameinu, which Hashem should build the Beis HaMikdash, but it should be B'Yameinu. In our day, we want to be there. We'll have a chelik. Our avodah will be able to serve you in a more better and meaningful way. Another thing I would like to say is we should do an exercise, and that is to envision that we are watching the building of the Beis HaMikdash. Wow, the building the Beis HaMikdash. What exactly would we feel when we do that? Try to be in touch, try to feel those feelings. You know what we'd feel? We'd feel, like it says, we'll feel simcha, we'll feel such a tremendous joy. Wow, they're building the Beis HaMikdash. And if we can connect and feel that joy and imagine, the more we can vividly imagine, use our imagination and try to see more of that and try to experience more, then we will be, and that's with happiness and imagination, will make a strong connection to that Beis HaMikdash, and we'll be able to be misabel also. But then we should be zeicha, liras b'simchasa, and some say right away we see the simcha of it. Let's see that simcha.